Okay.
Where to begin?
Who leaked Samuel Alito's draft opinion striking down Roe versus Wade and why? That to me is the most interesting question of this developing story. Who leaked it and why?
What is your suspicion?
There's a great breakdown of that by Jeremy Stahl on a site called Slate. Slate, I think, tends to lead liberal in its presentation of the news, but I thought it was a great breakdown. Who leaked this and why? He thinks that's the most consequential piece of news for Monday's leak. There is, however, another monumental story that the opinion was leaked to begin with and from one of the most secretive bodies in the country. A draft Supreme Court opinion has never been leaked in full in history, and there hasn't been an advanced leak of an outcome since 1986. Only the justices themselves and their small clique of law clerks would likely have access to such a draft. The closest similar example in the last 32 years came when somebody leaked in 2012 that Chief Justice John Roberts had initially voted to strike down all of Obamacare before changing his mind and voting to uphold the individual mandate. Notably, the law professor Jonathan Peters wrote on Twitter details of the original 1973 decision in Roe versus Wade, including the vote itself, were reported in advance by Time magazine. This leak, though, is so shocking because there are many reasons for how and why the court is normally able to maintain secrecy. As former clerk Stephen L. Carter wrote for the Washington Post in 2017, the court has been America's last leak-proof institution. As Carter noted, Supreme Court leaks were so rare because if a clerk was behind one, they would likely be caught and at great professional risk. The staff of the Supreme Court is very small, and the circle of knowledge of pending opinions is even smaller. In particular, a law clerk who talked to a reporter might find a once high-flying legal career ruined. And of course, fewer people in the know means fewer potential leakers. If one of the justices themselves leaked, meanwhile, we'd likely never know because there is no governing body to investigate the question aside from the impeachment inquiry, which is unlikely to happen over a leak.
You're getting closer to what really happened.
Indeed, we still have not learned who the leaker of Roberts' Obamacare vote was, and that leak came after the decision. So who leaked the draft Dobbs question? It's based on a Missouri case, Dobbs versus some health board in Mississippi, I believe, or Alabama.
You already answered the question. They leaked it themselves on purpose.
Why?
Well, I'm still working on that one.
Well, let's go through this fellow's presumptions. They're pretty interesting. Jeremy Stahl, writing for the Slate. I don't know anything about Slate, but so far I haven't read anything that makes me think I'm reading some highly partisan story. Okay, scenario one, a progressive clerk leaked the opinion on their own. All right. The Occam's razor answer, and the one spreading quickly in conservative media after the leak, is that an angry clerk of one of the progressive justices leaked the opinion to prepare the public for the end of Roe, hoping to potentially galvanize opposition against the decision and to take one last desperate attempt to change one of the 5 votes to overturn Roe. Again, this was the theory that animated conservative media in the hours after the news, which practically described the leaker as a traitor to the country. All right. Scenario 2, a conservative justice leaked it, possibly through a clerk. This isn't necessarily the likeliest outcome, but of all the options, this would seem to me to be the shrewdest tactically. First, it wouldn't make any sense for a clerk who opposed Roe to leak this without the permission of his or her boss. It would not only put that person's career in jeopardy, it would also put at risk a legal victory that conservatives have been working towards for decades. All right. However, it would make perfect sense for a conservative justice to leak this opinion, either themselves or through a clerk, if for some reason they thought one of the 5 votes was still on the fence, to pressure that fence sitter to stay on the team. All right. Scenario 3. A progressive justice leaked the news. Consider this for the reason consider the reasons for this to be a combination of scenario 1 and scenario 2. A progressive justice might have leaked this knowing it was unlikely for them to be caught, as in scenario 2, and in order to try to put one last final push of pressure on any potential wavering justice, as in scenario 1. Scenario 4. Chief Justice John Roberts leaked the news. This seems the least likely of the 4 scenarios emerging because of how intensely Roberts has sought to portray himself as the protector of the court's legitimacy. Still, it's worth considering, shortly after the draft opinion was leaked, CNN also reported the full details of Roberts' private deliberations on the case. Those are the scenarios. I've always enjoyed the Supreme Court's writings. I've always considered the Supreme Court the backstop, but there's no denying that it's becoming horribly politicized. Horribly politicized. So I don't know what to make of this. I do not have the wisdom of Solomon here. I have no idea.
May I ask a question? If it is discovered whoever leaked this information, what are the legal consequences? Or are there any?
Well, I just read that part. There's no governing body that would punish a Supreme Court justice.
What if it's a clerk?
Well, then that clerk is going to lose his career and get fired.
Are we assuming this is real and it might not be? Is it just one scenario? Evidently, this was written by Sam Alito.
John Roberts authenticates this. This is the actual
So
draft.
this is the actual final draft.
Yes, John
No,
Roberts did.
not-
Yeah,
Not the final joke.
it's not the final. But
Roberts
this version is authentic.
Yes, but he said it's not the final.
No, this vote could still preserve Roe versus Wade. They don't know. So that's the question. Was it leaked to preserve Roe versus Wade, or was it leaked to undo Roe versus Wade?
It was leaked to cause mayhem and controversy and fighting and arguing.
And it's
And it's
successful.
working.
It's
Yeah.
working.
Including a lot of grandstanding by a number of politicians, both sides, right?
Oh, God, yes. But help me understand this. To me, it's disheartening that the Supreme Court, to me, it's the equivalent of the Supreme Court justices going to the Met Gala. What am I trying to say? It's taking the Supreme Court as an institution out of its hallowed status and allowing itself to be thrown to the mud of daily politics. That's what I'm trying to say.
Don't you think that's been happening, though?
No.
Boy, I sure do. The last 10 years at least. That it's become a political, not tool, but a political body. And it's treated that way by the senators who
I tend to agree with John.
John, do you think they see themselves as that, though?
No, I think they are trying to see themselves as the opposite.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe I'm naive, but I still revere the Supreme Court. It's our last best hope to keep things in line.
Isn't that why this is so disappointing? Because it's just another layer.
I just said it. This is a revered institution that is losing its reveredness. I think that's a word.
Reveredness.
So,
But on top of
bring
that,
politics into.
But-
So Alito's conservative.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, we have to just assume that this comes from a page or a clerk or whatever the hell they're called that works for a so-called liberal judge.
That would be scenario
one.
But this is
scenario 1.
this is an outrageous breach of security. I mean, this goes above and beyond anything. There needs to be consequences for that if, in fact, this truly is legit.
And the reason they work with such secrecy, and the reason there never is a leak, is because they need the freedom in their club there to hash out these things, to talk about these things,
Talk freely.
talk freely about these things. And here that had a whole shot in it. Scenario 1: a progressive clerk leaked the opinion on their own.
Progressive, right? because we all assume, or at least maybe I do, that this was the last bastion, last place on earth where opposing viewpoints can come together and have a reasonable discussion based on law and rule and legalities.
That's what I've been saying. It's so disheartening to me
Yeah.
to see this storied body
Right.
take on the dynamics of, a local city council fight about a flag in some park.
No, the flag on top of a construction vehicle.
Right.
That's no. Let's not go down that road yet.
So I'm trying to think too, and I haven't been able to put it together. The Democrats are hysterically concerned about really losing big in the midterms. And is there some way this would bolster their chances in the midterms? In other words, if the court strikes down Wade versus Roe versus Wade, would that result in the election of Democrats? I don't know.
It's just going to result in more arguing and yelling and fighting and shouting and ridiculous accusations from both sides.
I wondered about that too, so I went and looked up polls, and every poll has between 60 and 70% of Americans in favor of a woman having the right to an abortion. So does it help the left then in an election if they strike it down? I don't know.
Have 60% of the voters angry at the conservatives.
Yeah, and I don't. But will they get out and vote? I guess that would be the.
Well, maybe whoever leaked this had that as the plan, that this would motivate voters in the event of an upending and thwart the conservative movement to undo it. It would just merely, what it would do is return this situation to the states, right? Each
Right,
state could
correct.
decide if abortion is going to be legal or not. Mm-hmm. Which puts the question in the hands of elected representatives.
You're debating something that's just completely moot.
Why?
It's over. It's over for this country.
Here we
It
go.
is over. If this, in fact, is true, the last bastion of democracy, the Supreme Court, has now been infiltrated by evil, and we're leaking documents to foment unrest in the public. It's over.
Kenny's
Forget
right.
about it. It is over. We've seen it coming for years. This is the last straw. It's over.
I don't think you're exaggerating.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't either.
We sit here and worry about the Met GD Gala while Putin is running all over Ukraine with his pants down, urinating and killing people all over. That's our concern here. We're concerned
Let's
about
clarify that.
Steve Martin's comedy bit in 1978 while people are dying.
You mean our
And,
culture has developed these kinds of concerns.
and people in this country are saying that war is fake. It's over. It's the United States done.